Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. My guests today hail all the way from India. It's the third Saturday of the month, which means it's time for Saturdays with SHARAN, hosted by Dr. Nandita Shah. Please welcome her back to the show. It's great to see you again. You're my furthest guest, I think, unless what's further, India or Australia from the United States?
Well, from you, probably India.
So you have the title. You have the title of the furthest guest. Well, welcome back. So what have you got for us today, Dr. Shah?
So I'm so happy to be with you again. And as you know, Saturdays with SHARAN, we're going to cover each Saturday a different topic, a different type of disease. And I'll be speaking about it in short, in layman's terms, so that everyone understands. And then we have three guests who are going to talk about their own story with those problems and show you three fabulous demos. So you'll have some nice recipes. And if anyone has autoimmune diseases, because we're talking about autoimmune diseases today, then I'll be giving you a few guidelines and hope on how you can recover from autoimmune diseases if you're unfortunate enough to have it. Okay. And this is something that's very important to me because I suffered from an autoimmune disease. I suffered from a disease called Guillain-Barré. So I'm going to start my screen share. And as you already know, SHARAN stands for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature.
I don't see your slides, just so you know.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
Okay. So SHARAN stands for Sanctuary for Health and Reconnection to Animals and Nature. And today we're going to talk about autoimmune diseases, their causes, and what you can do about it if you have it, and how you can prevent it as well. So as I was saying, I suffered from Guillain-Barré, and this was in 1997, and it was really shocking for me because I was doing everything, and then suddenly I couldn't do anything. And within a week, I was totally paralyzed from head to foot. And Guillain-Barré damages the nerve myelin sheath, the sheath covering the nerve cells, and it starts affecting the nerves as far away from the brain as possible. So my feet were first affected, and then it was going upwards all the way to my arms and even my face. And it was really scary because, you know, I couldn't walk, I couldn't get up from bed, and finally I couldn't even turn in the bed. And the lucky part about this is that though nervous tissue, when it's damaged, it cannot recover completely, but this was the nerve myelin sheath, and the sheath can recover. And so once I was able to get out of this, I started recovering. And I decided to heal myself with Guillain-Barré just from home. So I didn't go to the hospital. Of course, I went to get a checkup and they wanted to admit me. And I knew the kind of treatment they would be giving, which would at that time be immunoglobulins and steroids. And I didn't want to take that. And being a doctor, I just knew that I had to heal myself in a different way. And so I stayed at home. I had helpers who were helping me turn in the bed or helping me with eating and everyday functions and everything, or even clean me or change my clothes. But it was all done from home so that I could eat and live the way I thought was right. And so, you know, this kind of paralysis it affects every nerve in the body, and it goes from further nerves to more closer to the brain, and it can even affect the lungs and the heart. And so you have to be really careful. And luckily I wasn't that far that I would need a ventilator, but These days, I'm seeing even young children with Guillain-Barré who go straight into hospital and need to be put on a ventilator right away. So we're going to talk about the reasons for that soon. So as I said, like being a doctor and knowing that, and I'll tell you how we treat diseases with Sharan. So I thought that this was kind of gift. It was horrible when it was happening, but it was a kind of gift because it made me truly understand the healing power of the body, which we spoke about last time. So I want to say a little bit about immunity. Immunity is our body's ability to keep away any invading organism like bacteria or virus or parasites. And, you know, when we treat diseases sometimes with antibiotics, we kill that bacteria or virus or parasite. But if we don't use antibiotics, it's possible to handle those diseases ourselves just because we have a high immunity. Our immune system works. And so our endeavor at Sharan is always to build someone's immune system so that they can handle anything that happens. So what are autoimmune diseases exactly? Like immunity is good because then we can fight off any invading organism. But when we have an autoimmune disease, it means we are destroying our own body cells. Like, for example, when I had Guillain-Barré, my nerve sheaths were being destroyed by my own cells. And why does that happen? So we are actually producing antibodies against our own cells, which never happens in health, but it happens sometimes. And I had to think about what the cause of my Guillain-Barré was. And the only thing that I could think of at that time was that a month or so earlier, I had had a dog bite, and I immediately went for a rabies vaccination. And vaccines can be one of the causes of autoimmune diseases. And then I landed up with this. So common autoimmune diseases, diseases that you might have heard of, are rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis and lupus and vitiligo and ankylosing spondylitis, type 1 diabetes, psoriasis, then irritable bowel syndrome or Crohn's or ulcerative colitis and Graves' disease or autoimmune condition of the thyroid and Hashimoto's thyroiditis as well. It's another one. So, you know, there's hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism, which is autoimmune, and then myasthenia gravis as well, and vasculitis. And in fact, there are more than 100 kinds of autoimmune diseases, and new ones are being discovered as we go along. So autoimmune diseases are becoming very common these days. When I became a doctor, there were some that were well known, but they were much less common than what we're seeing today. So it makes me think, why have they become so common these days? So before we go ahead, I'd like to explain some terms. Antigen. Antigen is something that generates an antibody reaction. And an antibody is something that fights any organism that's invading. And our body is supposed to have natural immune responses. For example, if you have an organ transplant, or if you have a blood transfusion, then that's foreign protein going into your body. And so if you have a blood transfusion, the doctors have to be very careful to make sure that the blood is the exact same blood group or a blood group that is compatible with your blood group so that you will have a minimal reaction or no reaction. But if you have an organ transplant, say you have a kidney transplanted in your body or a liver transplant or anything, you would have to take immunosuppressive treatment your entire life, because otherwise the natural reaction of the body will be to reject the foreign organ because it's not your own organ. Similarly, we have a natural immune response to a vaccination, and that's good. That's what we want with a vaccination. For example, if someone has a vaccination for typhoid, then we definitely want them to build antibodies against the typhoid bacteria, right? But sometimes this vaccination is a foreign protein in our body that stimulates an autoimmune response, like it did for me, perhaps with the rabies vaccine. And then a normal immune response is to a virus or bacteria or any invading organism. And then to certain medications also, you may have an immune response. And finally, to animal products in our diet. Why do we have an immune response to animal products in our diet? So let me explain how this works. Imagine that this is a stomach, and protein is digested in the stomach, and it's digested with the help of enzymes and hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And so whenever protein goes into the stomach, all these enzymes start being secreted, the hydrochloric acid starts being secreted, and they digest the protein. Now imagine if you were to eat some meat, then this digestive system will start. How does the stomach know that it needs to digest the meat, but not itself? Because the enzymes and the hydrochloric acid could even digest itself, couldn't it? So how does it know that it shouldn't digest itself, but it should digest the meat? And it knows that because our body is able to mark things which are foreign to it and mark other things which are self. And usually the body never destroys itself. But sometimes, for example, in type 1 diabetes, when we consume dairy, the dairy protein is similar to the pancreatic protein. And if a young child consumes dairy instead of mother's milk at an early age, there is a chance that the body gets confused and produces antibodies against that dairy milk, which also destroy the pancreatic cells. And the patient may end up with type 1 diabetes. There are other causes of type 1 diabetes, but dairy can also be one of the causes. Dairy taken at an early age can be one of the causes of type 1 diabetes. Also, there's something called a leaky gut. A leaky gut means, normally, if you see the diagram on the left-hand side, you see a gut with all the cells closely knit, so that anything that the person that's going through the digestive tract or through the intestines doesn't go into the bloodstream. But if the gut is damaged and if there are spaces between the cells, and this happens when we don't eat and live the way we were designed to, and we had talked about that in the earlier episode, then these cells enter the bloodstream and they cause the antigen-antibody response. And so the body produces antibodies against these cells. And these, if they're similar to our own cells, these antibodies can harm our own cells as well. So I hope I'm making sense to you with all of this. Now, we've been brought up thinking that we're omnivores. So why do we have this autoimmune response, or this response to a foreign protein like meat? Because if we look once again at our dentition, we see that carnivores and herbivores have a totally different kind of dentition. And if we look at true omnivores, and then if we look at our own teeth, it's very clear that we are not the omnivores we thought we were. And so when we eat food that nature never meant for us, it can cause this kind of antibody reaction. And that's why it would be really good to put only foods that are designed for our body into our body. And that means foods, like we discussed the last time, foods that we are instinctively attracted to in nature. Like if you are in nature, you feel like picking fruits and vegetables and putting them in your mouth, but you don't salivate when you see a cow walk by or a goat or a chicken, right? And there are more and more treatments for autoimmune diseases. These are just some of the different kinds of conventional treatment. But as we discussed the last time, at SHARAN, we have a different way of treating, because when we treat with any of these treatments, what we're attacking is the symptoms. We're trying to cover for the symptoms. But what we want to do at SHARAN is try to remove the cause. And so now it's really important to understand what is the cause of an autoimmune disease. And we already discussed that one of the causes is foreign proteins, proteins which were not meant for our system at all, animal proteins, and also proteins that come through maybe some medicines or even vaccinations. And that's why, nowadays we have increased the number of vaccinations that people are taking, and we're seeing an increased number of autoimmune diseases. Perhaps we should start thinking about taking vaccinations only when they're really required, because there's too much treatment going on right now. So our treatment is avoid foreign proteins and also reduce stress, because stress also sort of magnifies any kind of disease. And last time we also spoke about how eating a plant-based diet reduces stress naturally. So SHARAN has a 5-point plan that we discussed last time, that we should be completely plant-based, that all the food should be as whole as possible. Avoid peeling vegetables or fruits that don't need to be peeled, or that we can't peel with our own appendages. And as far as possible, eat organic, because we don't want to eat all those chemicals that are being sprayed on our foods. And then we should always check and supplement vitamins B12 and D wherever necessary. Now, in the case of an autoimmune disease, recovery does take time. For example, when I had Guillain-Barré, I was totally bedridden for 6 months. And then I started recovering some functions, and I was walking with a wheelchair and then with a stick. And then after that, I was able to walk or move a little bit more, but it still took many years before all my muscles were moving completely, like years. And that's because the antibodies themselves have a lifespan. So until all the antibodies die, the recovery cannot start. For example, if someone has a cholera vaccine, then cholera vaccines are only, and that could be likened to, say, an influenza vaccine. So these vaccines have effects that last only for a year. But if you take a tetanus vaccine, for example, then the antibodies last in your body for 10 years. So we have to look at what is the lifespan of the antibodies that we have created and expect that our body is going to take time to recover and cannot really recover until those antibodies die a natural death. And only when they're completely dead, because our body always works to heal, like we saw last time, the damaged tissues begin to heal. and then they take some time to heal completely. So recovery for autoimmune disease does take time. And sometimes people who take our treatment for autoimmune disease expect that they're going to see results really quickly. I just want to say that you do start seeing improvement quickly, but total recovery really takes years. So improvement begins right away, recovery takes a long, long time. Now, a few important points. Autoimmune diseases always take time. Recovery may or may not be complete. For example, in multiple sclerosis, the recovery may not be complete because nervous tissue doesn't regenerate itself. But in other kinds of autoimmune diseases, like for example, vitiligo, the recovery may be totally complete. Or even Guillain-Barré for that matter, because nerve sheath can totally regenerate. Just one cheat meal on animal products can slow down the recovery. And this is because if animal products are one of the causes of your autoimmune disease, then that autoimmune disease is going to be stimulated. Again, new antibodies are going to form just by that one cheat meal. So, in everything you can cheat, but if it's an autoimmune disease, then you shouldn't cheat on the animal products. If you want to cheat, you can cheat on whole. Like, for example, if you consume a little bit of oil sometimes, or if you have some sugar, that's unlikely to affect your autoimmune disease as much as, say, animal products would, if they are the cause of the autoimmune disease. Or even like vaccinations. For example, after COVID vaccination, I've seen many patients who got autoimmune diseases or flare-ups of autoimmune diseases after COVID vaccination. Also, it's best to avoid animal ingredients in personal care products because everything that we put on our skin gets absorbed in a short time. And so animal ingredients in personal care products can also affect an autoimmune disease. And ideally, if you have an autoimmune disease, avoid vaccinations because we never know what's going to affect that autoimmune disease. Now, I do want to say a word of caution that talks like this can never replace a personal consultation because this is a process where a doctor would be able to tell you when to reduce medications, and not all the medications that are given to patients with autoimmune disease can be reduced immediately as we go on a plant-based diet. It needs some time. So we have to go slow. We have to understand the problem and work with the patient slowly. But there are some amazing books and some amazing people who have recovered from autoimmune diseases. And I just want to mention Brooke Goldner, who has written this book, Goodbye Lupus, because these are books that could help you. And medicines are helpful because they control the antibodies, and so they could control the damage, but they can't help in the total cure. So we need to work on the causes, remove the causes so that we can get cured completely. So that's it from me about autoimmune diseases. And I want to thank you for listening. And I'm going to stop my share right now.
Boy, I had no idea that you had Guillain-Barré disease.
Yeah, I really did. And that was one of the reasons I moved from Bombay, where I had a very busy practice, to Oroville, because I knew that I had to live in nature and I knew that I had to do things much more relaxed and in a different way than I had been living before.
That must have been really scary, though, to be paralyzed. I was paralyzed once. I had an accident. I broke my back, and luckily I regained feeling, but that must have been terrifying for you.
It's truly terrifying. And, it's just motor function that one loses. So you still have sensation. So that was good. But yeah, I didn't have the movement.
Were you already eating a healthy plant-based diet at the time?
Well, I wasn't 100%. I knew a little bit about veganism. I had started my journey of reducing, I was already vegetarian, but reducing dairy products. And I wasn't 100% vegan at that time.
And you think a dog bite could have caused it?
No, it wasn't the dog bite. It was the vaccination.
The vaccination through
the
it.
rabies
Wow.
vaccination. And
thank goodness you're recovered.
Yeah, well, Guillain-Barré is an acute autoimmune disorder as opposed to the chronic ones like rheumatoid arthritis and multiple sclerosis and all of those. And so the chances of recovery on Guillain-Barré are pretty high. Or let's say if you don't recover, you're likely to die.
Wow. Well,
because it's an acute disease, right? So either you go through the process of getting worse and worse and worse, and then you start recovering, or you get so bad that you can't. That's why people are on ventilators.
yeah.
Because if you can't breathe and you aren't on a ventilator, you can die.
Do you think when a physician has a serious disease like that, it makes them more empathetic as a physician?
I would say so, but it also makes you learn a lot about the healing power of the body and what's right and wrong in the way of healing. I don't know if it makes, so I was very empathetic. I became a doctor because I wanted to reduce suffering, and that's also why I became a vegan, because I wanted to reduce suffering. So I think I was already empathetic, but it makes you really understand what the other person is going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for mentioning Dr. Brooke Goldner. She has a regular show on Chef AJ Live the last Monday of every month. Are you familiar with Dr. Ellen Goldhammer and the True North Health Center?
Yes, I've heard. I mean, I know them, yes.
Right. Well, one of the things he says is some of his favorite patients are those with autoimmune disease because they often are highly motivated to stay the course, because sometimes one bite wrong, in a restaurant can flare their disease. And so they've learned that they feel better when they feel better, and that sometimes it's actually easier for them to stay compliant, because unlike things like heart disease, that occur many years later, with autoimmune disease, in some patients, one bite, one flare, and they've learned, you know what? No dairy for me ever.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to meet the people that have recovered from their autoimmune disease, hear their stories, and more importantly, see what recipes help them recover.
Yes, so let's get on with it right away. And so I want to introduce you to Sharanya. Sharanya, okay, Sharanya.
Sharanya, come back. I see her beautiful let's see, let me spotlight her, and then maybe we can see her better. Sure. There's Sharanya, and add the spot. There we go. So I see, it looks like she has bananas and greens.
Yes, but we're missing her.
Yeah, I see her hand. I see her hand only.
Sharanya.
There you go. And you'll have to unmute yourself as well. Thank you. We've got a real system here. There she goes. And now we see the blender. Looks like a mango or a papaya. Hi, Sharanya.
Hi, Chef. How are you doing?
Good. Nice to see you. Thank you for doing this demonstration. We'd love to hear all about your what disease you had, how you recovered.
Yes, yes. Yeah, my pleasure.
So I just want to introduce her. Sharanya is one of our facilitators, and she suffered from multiple sclerosis, or I met her when she was suffering from multiple sclerosis, and she'll tell you the story about that. And she was on medications, and we took her off medications very slowly. So Sharanya, do share your story.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor, for that introduction and the elaborate explanation on autoimmune diseases. I'm Sharanya Abhishek from Chennai, India. About 6.5 years back, when my daughter was just 1 year old, I lost vision on my left eye overnight. And after a series of tests, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called multiple sclerosis. We didn't know what autoimmune diseases were or what multiple sclerosis was. When I read up about it, it was very, very scary. And when my neurologist explained it to me, it sounded very, very scary. He immediately admitted me in his hospital. And after a week of IV steroids, I luckily got my vision back. And then I was put on oral steroids, and that oral steroids took a toll on my body and my mind. I was not able to walk straight, talk properly, eat well. I was shouting at people who took care of me. I was not myself. I was, I think, the worst version of myself then. And after a week of IV steroids, I was put on immunosuppressants. The immunosuppressant, which was that tiny little tablet, which is 14 mg, was not available off the shelf in the medical store. Every time, month on month, it had to be imported from the US, and my husband had to do a lot of paperwork for that. And I was also given a very, very tough condition that I should not be exposed to heat. I live in a city which is predominantly hot throughout the year. So that means I cannot be exposed to heat, and I cannot go to the beach, I cannot go to the park, I cannot take care of my daughter, I cannot work in the kitchen. I should be in an air-conditioned room all the time. That means I have to live like a vegetable in the fridge, which was very, very difficult. Then along with immunosuppressants, I had a lot other tablets as well. We didn't know what to do. Life looked very doomed. And that is when we were looking for alternatives. And the immunosuppressant also costed us a bomb. That tiny tablet costed us, each tablet costed 1,000 rupees per tablet. And it costed us almost 30,000 rupees just for that tablet. And apart from that, the MRI scans, the doctor visits, it was too much to handle. And that was the darkest days of for our family. When we were looking for alternatives, and that is when we found Dr. Nandita and this wonderful organization called SHARAN. I was not even able to travel then. My the back of my head used to pain a lot because the brain was what that got affected, and the left eye got affected because of that. I was not even able to travel, sit back, and I had to cut my hair short because I was not able to comb my hair. So when Dr. Nandita said she could do a phone consultation, I immediately jumped into the opportunity and took a 1 hour consultation with her. And I didn't know that 1 hour consultation would change my life. I honestly didn't understand what she said because I was already, heavy in my head. Everything, whatever she said, went above my head. I didn't know what veganism was, what whole food was. I really thought veganism was short form of vegetarian. I was, that ignorant or innocent then. But doctor, she gave me a beautiful synopsis of our consultation and in a document, and I followed everything she put in the document to the T. In 3 months, I saw results. Something good was happening. All the boils that was all over my body from head to toe just disappeared, and the 20 kilos of weight that I had put on because of steroids was slowly melting away. And I was able to sleep better. I stopped all the other tablets other than the immunosuppressant, including the sleeping tablet. I was very scared to stop the immunosuppressant. Every time I, thought about stopping the immunosuppressant, my neurologist's words would ring in my mind. He would say, "If you stop this, you may end up in a wheelchair, or you lose your eyesight again." So that was very scary. And time went on, and I got into this lifestyle, SHARAN lifestyle, which is whole food, plant-based, very, very religiously, because I saw some results, and the immunosuppressant was also going on. After a few months, I think 4 months from then, I was very, very confident about SHARAN's 5-point plan. And I told doctor I'm ready to stop the medicine, and she was very happy to listen to those words from me. She took 2 months to stop the medicines for me because I had a lot of withdrawal symptoms. And now it's been 5 years since I stopped the medicines. I'm completely medicine free. I'm able to take care of my daughter fully. I'm able to take care of my family fully. I'm able to run the entire family. I have a lot of visitors visiting me throughout the year. I'm able to take care of all of them. And I wanted to spread this message, this wonderful magic that healed me to others. So I joined Dr. Nandita's team with a facilitator training program in Mumbai 3 years back, and now I'm part of her team. I conduct health programs, health challenges, a 21-day healthy food challenge and a 7-day healthy smoothie challenge. And I help other team members with their programs as well. So I still have a few pains here and there, my knee pain and hip pains, but I know this is going to take some time, but this is not disturbing me in my regular schedule. This is going to take some time because autoimmune diseases, especially multiple sclerosis, takes time to heal. And I know I'm giving it my time, and I'm not scared anymore. I've given my body the right conditions to heal, and I know the body will do its job. So yeah, this is my story, and thank you, Chef AJ, for giving us this platform to spread this goodness to others. And today, I'm going to be demonstrating a very special recipe, which is a green smoothie. This smoothie is very simple but very powerful. It helped me heal, and it's still helping me heal. This one helped me in my weight loss journey as well. Like I said, I lost about 22 kilos in 7 months. This is kind of reversing my age as well. So a green smoothie. So what is a green smoothie? A green smoothie is a very, very beautiful drink which combines the goodness of greens and the deliciousness of the fruit. It has just 3 ingredients: the greens, the fruit, and water. Just 3, and it's very, very delicious. This is full of fiber. It's easy to digest. It's loved by all. It's very, very yummy. And we have to make anything very, very tasty, and only then it can be sustainable, right? So this is the drink that we have first thing in the morning. Not just me. I started, and then my husband joined, and then my in-laws joined, and now my daughter also drinks this green smoothie every day. And I have spread this to my extended family as well. So, and everybody has benefited out of this. It's not just for multiple sclerosis or autoimmune, it's for everyone. It's everyone's goodness. So green smoothie, when the greens are blended with the fruit in the blender, the cellulose structure around the greens opens up and the nutrients get flushed into the smoothie. And when we have this first thing in the morning, our body is already full of nutrients, right? So I'm going to be demonstrating a basic green smoothie today, which the greens that I'm going to be using today is spinach and mint. I like to use mint, so I use mint. Spinach and mint is my greens today, and I'm just going to be using bananas as my fruit. Frozen bananas, because I want my smoothie very creamy. So if you don't like it creamy, you can just use plain bananas without freezing them. So can you please spotlight my top view?
Congratulations on your successful healing and weight loss. You look amazing, and I'm so glad you're feeling better.
Thank you, Chef.
Doesn't she look amazing? Like
she looks like
when I see her with her daughter, I think of them as sisters. She looks that young.
I was going to say she looks like she's in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is she going to show the how do we make it, huh?
Yes.
Great.
Can you spotlight the top view?
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Spotlighted. It's spotlighted. Go ahead.
It says Sharanya.
Do you want me to just spotlight the smoothie part? Okay, sure thing. Let me take you off here. There we go. There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So this is 1 cup of greens, which is spinach and mint.
Mint is great.
Yeah. And 2 cups of frozen bananas. The ratio here I use is 1:2 is to 1 cup of water. And this makes 2 glasses of smoothie. And I'm just going to blend all this in my blender.
Okay, so Chef, I think we can show the main screen again.
Yeah, that's why I was doing both of them, because I think it's better because we can't see. that one, but I can unspotlight this one.
Yes.
How's this? How's
Yeah.
that? Perfect.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Thank you. So I've added my greens and now my bananas. And now my water. 1 cup of water. And that's it. Just 3 ingredients. Very simple, very powerful. And I'm blending it. One more churn.
I love mint in a smoothie. I love mint in general.
And Sharanya, you have the other fruits there, just because even other fruits can be added to the smoothie, isn't it?
Okay. Sorry.
You have the other fruits there because they can
Yes,
also
yes,
be
yes.
added to the smoothie, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. So now my smoothie is done. I'm going to, before I pour it in my, serve it in my glass, I'm going to be showing you the other fruits as well, which can be added in the smoothie, which is papaya, pear, chicos, apple, passion fruit, guava. So all these can go into the smoothie, so it tastes very yum. All these pulpy fruits make it very, very delicious, right? Okay, so can you see how creamy it is?
I know, it looks so thick and creamy like a milkshake.
Yes, yes, yes. And I'm going to taste this now.
It's like eating ice cream.
It's yum, yum, super yum. You should try this to understand how delicious it is. And it's, very, very nutritious. Like I said, it's just greens and fruit and water.
I know you could have it for dessert even, really, if you wanted to.
Yes, yes, yeah. Why not?
Actually replace any meal with green smoothie and fruit, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
Sharanya, thank you so much for that demo. And thank you for sharing your story with us as well, because it's very inspiring. And I have to say that Sharanya somehow comes across so many people with autoimmune disease and has been sending them to us to get well again and again, just because she's got such great results. So thank you, Sharanya, for everything that you do.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Chef.
And Chef AJ, now I want to introduce everyone to Christina. And Christina suffered from lupus. Christina, are you there?
There she is. And then I'll spotlight her again. There we go. Now we have her. Oh, wow. Look at that beautiful presentation. It looks like a lot of wonderful ingredients.
Yeah. Christina is an amazing chef, and she's going to be going to the US to join a course for Christina. You could tell them better what you want to do, but she wants to become I'm forgetting the name. A Michelin rated
chef.
Yes, vegan chef. So go ahead, Christina, tell them about your story and how you got well. And the reason she's going to show an amazing raw pizza today. And that's because she went completely raw during her journey.
Nice. Where are you going to come to the United States?
I'm coming to Chicago.
Oh, what's in Chicago?
There's a culinary course there.
Oh, nice.
It's not completely plant-based, but I'm hoping to meet some amazing vegan chefs there.
Nice.
So hello, everyone. I'm Christina. Thank you so much for giving me this platform, and I'm so excited to be here. I've been following the whole plant-based journey for a little over 3 years now. I think it's just 3 years now. And my journey began when I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called lupus, which I'm sure a lot of you must be familiar with. And lupus is basically a disease which can affect one part of your body, one organ, or it could affect all of your organs. And when I was diagnosed with it, I was only 19 years old. And I was supposedly a healthy teenager because I looked healthy on the outside, but I was consuming copious amounts of junk food and just such an unhealthy lifestyle. But because I looked healthy on the outside and my family was healthy, everyone just assumed that I was healthy. And it was such a huge shock when I was diagnosed with lupus. And I remember I was so scared to even Google what lupus was because it just sounded so deadly. And when the doctors told me that it's not reversible and I'm going to be on medication for the rest of my life, it just seemed like, you know, the sun had set and like my whole world is completely dark now. And I remember the person who took this the hardest was my mother. And she's the one who actually came across Dr. Brooke Goldner, like Dr. Nandita mentioned. And she is a board certified physician who has reversed her lupus through a highly raw diet. And that seemed like a small ray of hope in our very dark days. And from there, we heard of SHARAN and Dr. Nandita, and we attended one of their amazing, amazing retreats, which was honestly like the beginning to this amazing journey because we were so intimidated by vegan food and whole food plant-based, we didn't even know where to begin. And I remember when I attended the retreat, I was so skeptical of the whole thing, and I didn't even know how I would fit in here. But from there, it's just been so inspiring. I went on after the retreat to go completely raw vegan for more than 3 months, and just my symptoms just kept getting better. I remember when I was just diagnosed, it was so hard, and especially on my joints. Like my joints were so swollen, I couldn't even brush my teeth. I couldn't get up. I couldn't do any of the normal things that teenagers are supposed to do. And I was just on my bed. And after being raw vegan, I could cycle, I could move around, I could do everything. I felt the healthiest that I ever did all my life. And it just felt so addicting to be like so healthy that, you know, just being raw was so easy. And I was so inspired that in fact we turned our dairy farm into a vegan farm. And it's also a wellness center where Dr. Shah conducts some of her retreats because we're so inspired by her. And I'm so grateful to be here. So let's just jump into the recipe, which is one of my favorites that I used to make. It's a completely raw pizza, and it's got all the deliciousness of a pizza, but it makes you feel so amazing after eating it. So here we have the spread. You can see the herbs here, and they're all farm fresh. So I've just plucked them before this. So we're going to be making 3 components mainly for this, which is the crust, the cheese, and the marinara. And everything is raw. So let's first start with the cheese. Here I have my blender. I've got some soaked cashews and some melon seeds here. And I'm just going to add that in.
What are melon seeds? To what kind of melon, and where do you buy them?
These are watermelon seeds that I've used. You could go with all cashews, or you could substitute it with sunflower seeds as well.
And here, melon seed, at least in India, melon seeds are easily available in stores.
I don't know if I've seen them in the United States, but I heard that you could actually make a plant milk out of watermelon seeds.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I mean, you could use completely just cashews, but it makes me feel really heavy after consuming so many cashews. So I like to do 50-50. So half of melon seeds and half of cashews. And here we have the herbs. So here I've got some fresh herbs, some dried garlic, and some nutritional yeast. So I'm just going to put that in. And some lemon juice. And a bit of salt. I'm just adding a bit of water to thin it out.
It's looking amazing.
Can you all see her top view? Because I'm not able to see.
That better?
Now I can, yeah.
There we go.
That's good. And you can see this amazing deliciousness. Oh, it smells so good and herby. I just love this. And this is good on salads, on toast. It's an amazing salad dressing. So there's my cheese. And now I'm going to move on to the marinara. So here I've got some soaked sun-dried tomatoes. So these tomatoes are actually cherry tomatoes. You could use regular ones, but because I live in a farm and these were available to me, that's why I'm using them.
So just while she's doing this, I want to tell you all that right now Christina's on the farm, and some of the food that she's preparing has been grown on the farm as well. So it's
Yeah.
so amazing because like they closed down their complete dairy farm and now it's like a tiny sanctuary for animals and also a retreat center.
And here we have some date paste, some dried garlic, and some herbs and pepper. So the date paste is just soaked dates and some water. That's going to bring out a bit of sweetness in the sauce. And I could add some apple cider vinegar, but because my tomatoes are very sour already, I don't want to make it more sour. So I'm just skipping that.
And Christina, you use the same blender that had the cheese in it. And that's fine, right? Because it's all going on the pizza anyway.
Sorry?
You've used the same blender that had the cheese in it. That's fine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all gonna be tasting amazing. Here you go. I'm just gonna blend it one more time. I skipped adding salt, so I'm just gonna put that here.
So Dr. Shah, where do you stand on salt for people in general, and especially if they have an autoimmune disease?
Okay, so I know that there are some people who do SOS, and we don't do that for two reasons. One is that we live in a very hot climate, and so you're losing a lot of salt with perspiration, and so we definitely need to replace that salt. And the other reason is that we want the food to be easy, because like everyone in India is so addicted to good food. Indian food is also quite special. And so if we don't make the food delicious, then we'll have less people staying on our diets. So we do allow normal, just a little bit of salt to make sure that the food is both delicious as well as people get enough sodium. We do see some cases when people have been told not to have salt, especially when they have high blood pressure. And sometimes when you do their test, then the sodium levels are too low, the chlorine levels are too low.
What about things like miso? Do you ever like to use those instead?
Oh, we love miso, some of us. At least I do. What about you, Christina?
I don't generally use it, but I mean, it is a great ingredient. So I'll just move on to the crust now. Here I've used equal proportions of flaxseed, walnuts, and sunflower seeds. So I'm just going to pop it into the blender. And the main thing that I need to consume, and I'm sure all of us need to keep in mind while we're on a plant-based diet is consuming a lot of omega-3. And as we all know, walnuts and flax seeds are just so rich in omega-3. So having this, just sneak it in, and it's a great way to have that. And I'm adding some bell peppers. You could use any color, doesn't really matter. I've got the yellow one, so I'm just putting that here. And some nutritional yeast again, some garlic, dried garlic, and some salt. And that's it. I'm not adding any water because the moisture in the bell pepper is gonna be enough to bind the dough. And I'm using the same blender again.
It looks like quite an elaborate recipe as well.
It should be, I mean, if you've got all the prep ready, it takes you just less than 10 minutes. And I'll just... So if you feel like the dough is a bit wet, which like mine looks because my blender was already moist, so just add in a bit more sunflower seeds or walnuts, and that should be good enough to make it a bit more firm. And I've already made a crust here, that you can see. I put it in a dehydrator. If you don't have a dehydrator, then using an oven, when you put the oven temperature to the lowest setting, and about 3-4 hours, depending on how thick your crust is, that should be good enough. So you can see here, it's completely firm. And it's just an amazing base to put all this goodness on. So I'm just putting that on my plate.
So Christina, basically you took that mixture of walnuts and flax seeds and just patted it on the tray?
Yes, yes. Because my blender was a bit moist with all the cheese and everything, that's why it's a bit soft, but otherwise it should give you a really good firm dough. Or you can just add in a bit more walnuts, sunflower seeds, like I said, and that's going to do the trick. So here we have a beautiful base that we're going to start working on. We've got our marinara here.
You know, it's interesting. We're not really making any Indian food.
Yeah, that's true. But we'll see some Indian food in other demos.
But the watermelon seeds are very interesting that it's a staple in your country. I don't think I've ever seen it here. I think it's available online, but I don't recall ever seeing it just in a store. Maybe in an Indian store. I'll have to look.
Actually, watermelon seeds is not something that we use regularly in Indian cuisine either. Is it, Christina?
It's not really, but it does add a certain richness to the, if you're making gravies, like Indian gravies, where we typically add cream or cashews, then it's a good substitute there.
True. It's really a good substitute for nuts whenever, you know, especially if someone's allergic to nuts, right?
Yeah. And here I've got the cheese. I'm just putting on. And I've used some, here I've got some bell peppers again. I really like bell peppers on my pizza. It's the best. And for leaves, I've used some rocket leaves, but you could swap them out with baby spinach or microgreens. Any of these would work really well. I love the taste of rocket leaves, so that's what I'm adding on here.
They call it arugula in the United States. Rocket is a much better name, I think.
Arugula, yes.
Rocket sounds like it's much more fun.
And I've got some balsamic vinegar here. It's not necessary, but it just brightens up the whole thing. So I'm just drizzling on a few. And the pizza's good to go. I mean, I just love the layer of greens on top. That's just a personal choice. But adding in olives, whatever toppings you like, customize it. It's a blank canvas. So I really hope that everyone tries this recipe because it's really, really good. Thank you.
Really looks good too.
It looks great. And I love that everyone is using leafy greens in their recipe, the most nutritious foods on the planet.
True.
We love our greens.
Great. Well, I see one more chef ready. I'm going to bring her on and spotlight her.
Okay, so I want to introduce Shalu. Shalu, yeah. Yeah, Shalu is also one of our facilitators. All of these people are our facilitators because they're so anxious to spread the goodness of plant-based nutrition. Shalu's husband suffered from an autoimmune disease. So Shalu, do tell them that story of ankylosing spondylitis.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Doctor, for the introduction. Thank you, Chef AJ. I'm super happy, super excited to be here on your platform today. And I feel really blessed that I have a story that may be able to inspire a lot of people to adopt a healthy lifestyle. So I married the love of my life when I was 26 years. And after that, I went to London to pursue a course in cake decorating from one of the best culinary institutes, like Cordon Bleu in London. And that was like my dream to start my bakery. And I came back to India in Bengaluru in South India. I started my bakery business, and I was running 3 successful top-rated bakeries of the region. And, I was living my dream of being a successful professional baker. That's when my husband was diagnosed with this autoimmune condition called ankylosing spondylitis. We saw a lot of rheumatologists, the best ones in India, and we came to know that there's no treatment for this disease anywhere in the world, and all he could do was to take painkillers and steroids throughout his life. And we just followed what the doctors told us to do. We kept asking the doctors, is there something that we can do about our diet? Is there something we should avoid eating, or, something that we could add? The doctors said that, you can eat whatever you want to eat, just keep taking the pills. And that time we were non-vegetarians, and we used to enjoy eating our eggs for breakfast, and, chicken and fish. And we were just eating everything without thinking how powerful the food is, and how it could impact the disease that he had. So even after taking those medicines, which were really expensive, and he had to get admitted to the hospital to take the biosimilar injections because they had such severe side effects. So that was taking a toll on us, both emotionally and financially, and it was a really difficult time. Even though we were doing everything that the doctors were telling us to do, his condition wasn't getting better, and he wasn't able to even sit, stand, walk, and do the normal functions. Like, we had a newborn baby in the house, and he wasn't able to take the baby in his arms, and it was really painful to see him like that. And because of the side effects of all those medicines and the injections and steroids, he gained a lot of weight. He also got diabetes and hypertension. At the age of 31, his HbA1c was 13, and the doctor said that, anything could happen anytime. It was super scary for us as a family, and we were really struggling hard. That's when I thought that, since this is not working out, we have to find an alternate solution. And I started researching on the internet, and I came to know about a few people who had reversed this condition just with the help of diet and lifestyle changes. Since we did not have any other option, we thought of giving it a try. And we started ordering their books and researching what they were eating. And that's when we also came across SHARAN and Dr. Nandita's way of living. And we started making small changes. We stopped eating meat. We shifted to a more plant-based vegan lifestyle. And I also gave up my bakery business because I really wanted to focus on this. And I was really desperate to get my husband out of this situation. So I just sold my bakery, and I started reading nutrition, and I started studying. And when we started making these changes, we saw some amazing magical results. In 1 month of time, my husband was able to reverse his diabetes. type 2 diabetes and his hypertension completely. And he was able to get rid of all his painkillers and steroids within 3 months of time. In 1 year, he lost 30 kgs of weight. And from a person who was finding it difficult to stand up from the bed and reach the washroom, he became a person who's now walking 10 to 12 kilometers every day. He's living a super active lifestyle. And, you know, just because we made those diet and lifestyle changes, I got my husband back, my kids got their father back, and my husband got his life back. So it has been a beautiful journey for me and my family. I have 2 kids now. My son is 8 years, my daughter is 5. We all follow this lifestyle of this whole food, plant-based, staying away from sugar and oil and, you know, all animal products. And we haven't seen a doctor for a very long time. So, you know, it has just been amazing. And because we saw such amazing results, I thought of, you know, just making this as a mission of my life, as Dr. Nandita started SHARAN with this mission, and I just joined it because all of us who are in the SHARAN team are very, very passion driven, because this has changed our lives in such a big way. So I wanted to spread this message of health and, you know, the power that lies in our food to more and more people. Because when we were looking for solutions, the doctors did not tell us about it. And it was really sad that, you know, doctors did not even mention the role of food when it comes to disease reversal. So I wanted to be the person in somebody's life, you know, who can share their story and inspire others to make these changes in food and lifestyle, so that people are able to reverse their lifestyle diseases. And many thanks to Dr. Nandita that, you know, she's doing such hard work at SHARAN, training so many people like me to be able to help others. So yeah, that was my story. And I'm really looking forward to showing you a very special dessert recipe, because me and my husband, like, I had a bakery, so I was really fond of desserts. And even my husband, because he had been tasting all my experiments, all my baking experiments for a very long time. So, you know, he was also addicted to sugar. And that's why the dessert part was really tricky, because I was using a lot of eggs and, you know, heavy cream and whipped cream and all that in my bakery. So when we switched to this whole food plant-based lifestyle, desserts was something that I really wanted to do very well for my husband, so that he doesn't miss out on them and he doesn't feel the need to cheat, and he can stick to this lifestyle very easily. So I'm going to show you a dessert which is so simple. It is practically just 2-3 ingredients, and it's very easy to make. You don't need to cook anything, and it's very, very simple, and it's very, very easy to make. So let me just show you the ingredients. So I've got medjool dates here. So I'm using medjool dates. You can use any soft dates like quinoa dates for this recipe. And then I've got some peanut butter here. Now, this peanut butter and date combination makes it taste something like a Snicker. So it's like a Snicker bite. But if you are allergic to peanuts, then you can replace this butter with almond butter or cashew butter or any plant-based butter.
I'm just curious, excuse me, do they have Snicker bars in India?
Yes.
Wow.
And my kids love them. So, you know, this is one of my kids' favorite recipes.
Yeah.
So I've
and
got
also the peanut butter is made at home. Your peanut butter, have you made it yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So what I've done is I've just grinded the peanuts very well in the blender. And if you want it smooth, you just keep grinding it. It becomes really smooth and creamy. If you want to leave it chunky, then you can just leave a little bit of chunks, because generally in Snickers, you have those peanut chunks. So maybe a chunky peanut butter would go better with this recipe. Or if you already have the smooth peanut butter ready at home, you can just use some roasted peanuts here to just top on, to just garnish your Snicker bites. And then,
Chef,
of course,
please highlight her top view.
Yes, it's being done, Sharanya, don't worry.
Oh, wait, you want me to only highlight? Okay, so is this better? Okay.
So to add the chocolate and the cacao element to the Snicker bites, I have some cacao nibs here. So if you have some really high quality date sweetened oil-free chocolate available, you could use that, or you could just use cacao nibs, because the cacao nibs actually give this a very nice crunchy taste. So it's super simple. I'm just going to slit open the date, and I'm going to just remove the seed.
You said your husband lost about 30 kilograms?
Yes, he did.
So that's more than 60 pounds. That's incredible.
Yes. He almost started looking like a different person. So yeah, now I just take a scoop of the peanut butter and I just fill this into the dates. And you just sprinkle some of the cacao nibs on top, and maybe add some roasted peanuts for the crunch. And our dessert is ready. So isn't it super
Yay.
simple?
Yes, it is. And it looks
And
lovely.
you have to actually try to believe how delicious it is, because we don't use sugar, so dates are a very good replacement for sugar. They're so full of minerals and they're so full of fiber, so we don't have to worry about overeating our desserts, because it's practically impossible to overeat something which has a lot of fiber in it. And it's really, really satisfying, especially if you are having a sweet craving or a sweet tooth. Then this is really satisfying, super delicious, super easy, and you never have to go for desserts full of sugar, or full of the commercial chocolates which do have animal ingredients, or they may also have oil added to them. So yeah, this is something like this. We have 4 of us, and we've got 4 Snicker bites ready for our dessert.
That looks delicious. Do you ever put them in the freezer? I always used to love eating Snickers a little bit cold.
Yes, you can definitely freeze them if you like to have them cold. But generally, when I make them, they don't reach the fridge because they are gone by the time I reach the fridge.
Have you guys ever heard of in India something called PB2? It's very popular in the United States, because what it is it's peanut butter that's basically been defatted, and it's a powder that you reconstitute. So it's supposed, I've never tried it, but it's very popular here, where it tastes and looks like peanut butter, but they removed most of the fat.
Yes, I've tried it, but I did not enjoy the taste that much, because that richness which
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Nice. This is wonderful. Everything looked delicious.
I want to add, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I just say, want me to bring everybody back on, Dr. Shah?
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Let me just.
And I just want to add that all of them are high raw, and all of them are gluten-free as well. Shalu may not be gluten-free, but her husband certainly is, right?
Yes.
So for autoimmune diseases, gluten-free is also really helpful for many autoimmune diseases. So I just wanted to add that little point.
Wow. Anyway, we have like a whole meal here. We basically had like breakfast, lunch, and dessert.
Chef, you're not, we can't see you.
Oh, let me bring myself back then. Here we go. Well, that's all of us right now. Good.
Yeah.
Wow, everybody did a wonderful presentation. I look so much forward to more recipes from you guys. If you'd like to come back, and more wonderful stories from you, Dr. Shah, patients that you've helped, and you were your own patient, in other words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I started with autoimmune diseases, because we're going to do all different things, but I started with the one that was closest to me.
Right. That's great. Well, congratulations on your success, everyone. And they're all paying it forward, aren't they, with their families and working as facilitators now with you. So it's like everything happens for a reason, doesn't it?
Really. And it's so amazing how their extended families and even their kids and everyone's loving this lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. And we look forward to seeing you next month, the third Saturday of the month, for our Saturdays with SHARAN. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow for another fabulous show, Heart to Heart with Dr. Columbus Batiste. Thanks, everyone.